All right, so we took a trip to Paris. This is us going to Boston to fly to Iceland, where Danielle could see the northern lights out of the window of the plane, which was pretty cool. From there, we headed to Paris, where we saw the Eiffel Tower before we were landing, and we're pretty excited about our trip. This is our hotel, the Ibis Hotel, which had a good breakfast in the morning that got us started each day. This is us just getting a cup of coffee as we arrived because we were pretty tired from flying all night. So we went to a local park and hung out with all the French people. They were excited because they hadn't seen the sun in like 6 months or something. So everybody was there. This is one of the markets that we passed. There's a whole bunch of these markets where people stop by and pick up their stuff for dinner. This is us eating dinner, the first restaurant that we went to. We had pizza and salad, and it was excellent. Great ingredients and very yummy. Then we went to another restaurant just to hang out and just try some other food. And this was our first night there, so we were pretty tired by the end of this day. The next morning, we got up early and went downtown to check out the Picasso Museum. And actually, this is before we got to the Picasso Museum. We stopped by a little cafe and got a coffee while we waited in line for the Picasso Museum and just got to watch people's shocked faces at how long the line was. So there's Picasso himself, and here is Danielle just kind of posing in front of the beautiful museum that it was. This was a photo that just cracked me up. It looked like two guys in their underwear with a chocolate bar. I'm sure it wasn't a chocolate bar, but this is a cool room that we found. There was like a little cubby hole that we went through to find this little room in the corner of the museum, and it was kind of neat like that. It was little interesting things everywhere, so that was kind of interesting. And then we moved on to check out some different artwork. Here's a couple that Danielle liked, and then here is one that shows two people kissing, and so we decided to try that in front of this picture. Danielle really enjoyed this museum. I was kind of along for the ride. I'm not really a museum type of guy, but I tried to be a good sport as we toured it. We stopped by another museum on the history of France. This is us kind of out in the garden area. And then we went downtown to eat lunch, but we stopped by this St. Paul's church for a picture. And then we had our burger that we split and stopped by another park where all the French people were hanging out, again, on a nice, beautiful, sunny day. This is just a local church that was having church that day, Catholic church. And then we headed down to Notre Dame Cathedral, and they're still working on Notre Dame, and the line was so long that we decided that we would come back the next day to check out that. So here's the metro station, kind of what it looked like. That night we went down and saw the Eiffel Tower. It was really cool, all lit up nice. At a certain point, the lights will actually start to blink. You can kind of see that here, which was pretty neat. And so we saw the blinking lights of the Eiffel Tower. And then we tried to go to a restaurant where it was so packed that we didn't think we were ever going to be served. So we ended up leaving, heading to another restaurant to check it out. And this is us heading home for the night. We were exhausted from just being a really long day. So we got up early, headed back to Notre Dame. And here is what it looks like when you're walking in. There's lots of cool things to check out on the outside of the church. And then this is us heading in on the inside. You can kind of see how large it is as you enter. And it was really cool, all the stuff in Notre Dame. This might have been one of our highlights of the trip. We really enjoyed it. Danielle almost came to tears when we first saw it, when we first kind of walked up on it. But it was beautiful. There's lots of cool things to look at. And so I think I spend more time in here just showing some of the things that we see up on the wall. Some cool art. A lot of the stories of Jesus are told in the sculptures and in the paintings and the things that are hanging around the church. So it's kind of cool. It shows Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane with the disciples asleep there. It shows Jesus washing his disciples' feet, and other stories from the Bible that can be seen here. But this was really cool. We really enjoyed that. And then we headed on down to towards the Louvre Museum and the l'Arc de Triomphe. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of this correctly, but this was another beautiful day. We had sunny skies every day that we were there. But this was about a 2-mile walk. We walked a whole bunch during this trip. There's another shot of the Eiffel Tower during the day. Beautiful grounds on the way to the Arc de Triomphe and the Louvre Museum. So we did stop, eat some lunch at one of these tiny cafes where you barely have any room. But beautiful park for us to kind of hang out in as we waited. Here is the Arc, and here's Danielle around the corner. She's going to pose a couple times before we go wait in line to go to the museum, which you see right here, the Louvre Museum. And so we're just kind of killing time and waiting to go. We had made a 12:30 not appointment, what do you say, 12:30 reservation to go into the museum. Here's the outside, and then I think I filmed a little bit of what it looks like when you're first going in here. So you enter going kind of down underground like this, and then here's the Mona Lisa. We kind of made a beeline to the Mona Lisa. I put in here, this is what all the people look like as they're all trying to take a photo of the Mona Lisa. We just kind of snapped a quick one and then just kind of kept walking. But you could spend hours in this museum. One person told us they'd spent 9 hours touring it. I think Danielle, again, appreciated the museum a little more than I did. But lots to check out, lots to look at. They have a fashion exhibit that she really enjoyed. She's actually wearing something similar to one of the exhibits there. But anyway, a lot of people, but a lot of things to look at. You could spend hours in here. I kind of became like a little child in a shopping mall that got tired of shopping, and so my feet hurt, and I started to get a little bit of a bad attitude. So lots of naked statues in here. I think I'm going to have to censor this out here in just a couple seconds. But that was great for immature people like myself to be able to have a laugh at. And let's see, where else are we going here? Anyway, Danielle had a wonderful time. We stopped by and picked up a loaf of bread because you see people walking around Paris with a loaf of bread in their hands at all times. So we made sure we got a shot of that. Again, down in the metro near where we stayed in these pictures. Looks like we're out for dinner. Maybe the night before we leave. We only stayed 3 nights. Danielle ordered me a traditional French meal, which was okay. Again, you're kind of crammed inside of these restaurants, sitting right next to other people, which is a little hard to get used to. And it was just kind of strange when we took off from the airport. We actually walk up and on the, not a jetway, the tarmac. I guess you walk up right up the tarmac to get in your plane. And that was kind of interesting. I'd never done that, boarded a plane like that. We were sitting in the rear of this plane, so we got to enter from the rear exit. And anyway, that was our trip to Paris. We had a wonderful time. It was quick, but it was about what I wanted. We stopped back in Iceland for a couple of selfies with this giant, had a couple of Iceland hot dogs, and then we were heading back to Boston. Iceland was windy and cold, as you might imagine Iceland would be, but we had a great trip, a lot of fun. We booked it through Great Value Vacations to get a good deal on it, and so we'd highly recommend it. We're glad to be back and resting again.